welcome to this week's edition of Random Shit. Random Guy, as always, I'm your host, Phil. And boy, is this a busy week. We have a ton to talk about, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who watched last week's show, making it our highest watched show so far. Hope this episode beats that one, and the next one beats that one, and the next one beats that one. So we continue to grow this channel. But before we get any further in, I want to let you guys know, or ask you guys to please like and subscribe. Like this page, hit that thumb now, join the comments, get involved with the show, have a good time. If you're listening afterwards, make sure you leave a comment down below. If you leave a comment, I'll be sure to join in on that conversation. But like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Wanted to get that out of the way right here up front so you guys know when I'm going live, and it'll give you a notification, and it helps the channel grow. It helps us be able to get rid of this little duck up in the corner that I'm trying to get rid of. So yeah, help us out there. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It has been a busy week for me. I've been out on the hunt for figures this week, guys. If you are a figure collector and you're not shopping at Ross Dress for Less, you need to get your ass over there right now. This week alone, I found 5 AEW figures for $4 a piece. That's right. You heard that correctly. 5 AEW figures for, I got 5 figures for less than what it cost to buy one new. I got a ton of guys that I probably wouldn't have bought at full price, but hey, $4, I'll put some jobbers in the figure fed, you know? So there's a ton of AEW figures out there, G.I. Joes, all kinds of stuff. It's a free ad for that. It's more letting you guys know, hey, if you're a collector, Ross Dress for Less, RossCon, as we like to call it on the web, is alive and well for Christmas right now. Make sure you hit that up. If you have someone in your family, if you got kids in your family who like wrestling, right now's the time. Hit Ross up. They got all kinds of stuff. I think I got, this week alone, I picked up a Jamie Hayter with the title, a Wheeler Yuta with the title. So, I mean, those are great figures for kids. We also got a, who else did I pick up? Bryan Danielson. I got a G.I. Joe version of Sergeant Slaughter. So, tons of great deals out there. Make sure you hit up Ross and get those in your collection, because like I said, there are tons of cool shit out there right now on sale. If you're a wrestling figure guy, hell, if you just like any kind of toys out there right now, Ross pretty much has it. They have Mario. They've got a little bit of everything. Marvel Legends. Hell, they've got Pokemon. They've got everything. So if you are a fan of that, check them out. Also had a chance to stop by a local shop in Mount Vernon, Kentucky, Turnbuckle World. They have wrestling cards. They also have Magic and Pokemon and all that shit. So check them out as well. It's Turnbuckle World on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that bullshit. They got tons of stuff. Tell them Phil sent you from RSRG Entertainment. Enough of the plugs. Let's get down to fucking business, guys. We have a ton to talk about. And right off the bat, I want to talk about the thing that everybody's talking about right now. Andrade El Idolo. Andrade, as you guys know, got cut last month from the WWE. I think it was like 3 weeks out from the end of the month. Andrade got cut for a wellness violation. And on October 1st, on Dynamite, he popped up and attacked Kenny Omega and joined the Don Callis family. And that was like 2 weeks after his departure. No one saw it coming. No one was like, everybody's like, holy shit, Andrade's in here. This is going to be great. A lot of people didn't think Andrade would even come back with the way that things ended with him and Tony Khan when he went back to WWE. He's the first guy to go from WWE to AEW, back to WWE, back to AEW. But there's been a fucking hiccup. If you guys watch the show, you guys know, hey, Andrade has not been on television or his name mentioned in 2 weeks. He was supposed to have a match with Kenny Omega that next week on Dynamite. That match never happened because, according to Dave Meltzer, WWE sent a letter to AEW, and AEW didn't know. AEW believed that there wasn't a no non-compete. Normally, when somebody leaves the WWE, there is a 90-day clause. They can't go work somewhere for 90 days. They have to stay basically unemployed, but during that time, it's usually like WWE's kind of paying them during that, or if you have a traditional contract, 90 days, usually though, if you get fired, that 90 days non-compete does not exist. But evidently there were people even in WWE that didn't believe there was a non-compete. Originally, people thought, oh, well, he's got a traditional 90 days, so he is out for 90 days. He can't be on television. This has been wacky as hell. Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful put parts of a contract up that showed because it's a wellness violation, he could be out for a year. I don't understand how that's possible. How can you hold somebody from working for an entire year? In the contract, it says they can't go work for other wrestling companies. They can't go work for MMA companies, no boxing, no, none of that, anything in the combat sports world. And it can be up to a year for being fired for a wellness violation. That is fucking stupid. You cannot hold somebody up for that. And now I understand they put it in the contract. People don't see that stuff a lot of times. Or even, like I said, AEW did not know there was a non-compete. They thought the non-compete, if there was one, was for 30 to 90 days. 90 because he was on the main roster. The traditional, hey, you're gone. But when you're fired or your contract lapse, traditionally there is not a non-compete. But in this situation, WWE is fighting it. They're keeping him off television. My thing is, you didn't want the guy. You got rid of the guy. Let the man work. This is similar to how if somebody gets, it's like with the Danhausen situation where AEW is holding on to Danhausen when he wants out. But Andrade got fired and he still can't go work for AEW. There's something wrong with that situation. Non-competes are for people who let their deal, who are still getting paid for 90 days, and on top of that, get released for traditional reasons. Not fucking just let out fired. That's insane. Andrade's, a lot of people thought, hey, he'll pop up in Mexico or some of that shit. Some of the people thought this was a fucking work. No, he just isn't able to work because WWE is fighting him on this. Now, they say that Andrade does have a traditional team, a very good team of lawyers who are working on this. Originally, when it was the 90-day clause, people thought, well, he just won't fight it because by the time they get it into court, it's going to be 2 months later. The 90 days is going to be up. It's going to be a waste of money. But for a year, you better believe he's going to be fighting this shit. And I know last year the non-compete was questioned by the federal government as the FCC, I think it was. No, the Federal Trade Commission said, hey, non-competes can't be legal. And then the federal court was like, we're going to fight that. So now that's up in the air, whether or not a non-compete can even be a thing. But a year, when you fire somebody, what's somebody supposed to do? Just not work for a fucking year? Oh, you failed a drug test, or, I mean, they literally just found a reason to get rid of this man. They were having him tagged for no reason. They brought him back. They weren't happy with him. I know he's been a loose cannon, and some people thought, hey, let's just do the loose cannon ECW WCW gimmick where Brian Pillman went and worked for ECW and he was supposed to go back to worked for WCW, went to ECW, and then ultimately ended up in WWE. But a year, 1 year without working, that's just insane. And another story that come out similar to this one is the Ridge Holland situation. For those of you who don't know, NXT and the WWID program did a ton of releases this past week. The main one that's talked about is Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland was injured at the time of his release. Another name that was mentioned in this was Kylie Ray, who had a WWE ID contract. Both of them were let go from their contracts while being on the shelf. WWE traditionally would never do this. If there's one thing you say about Vince McMahon, he normally wouldn't just pay somebody through their injury, especially when it happened in one of their rings or somebody got pregnant, and then add on injury time. In this case, Ridge Holland has been fired for something that he got injured in doing a match in TNA for NXT, something he did not get paid extra for. It's been a big story where fans have been like, oh, well, he had that big contract, he should be fine. Let's just start with his tweet. Ridge Holland posted, I've been informed by the WWE they will not be renewing my contract, which ends on November 14th. WWE are still going to cover my rehab from the injury, but but my guaranteed pay will end. Quite frustrating to say the least, as I cannot work for another 6 months due to the injury and I have a family of 5 to support. My career with the WWE has been blotted with misfortune, but I am still thankful and grateful for the opportunity and the experience. The shining light that has always kept me going is the huge support from the handful of special human beings. Thank you. I'm unsure what lies ahead in terms of wrestling, but I'm going forward and I will be working hard to heal up, and in that time I will be launching my own online coaching business. Stay tuned. So you have somebody who got hurt in your ring and you're firing them as they have children that they have to worry about. And I get it. It's a fucking business. At the end of the day, TKO is not like anyone else. The UFC lets people go while they're hurt all the time. The WWE traditionally did not. AEW doesn't let them go while they're hurt. They also they usually extend them, like I said, when they get hurt. It's just unheard of to see that they would let somebody go like that, especially in the Kylie Ray situation on the WWID. She was making $500 a week. You couldn't have held out 9 months and then paid her through her pregnancy and then did it. What would $500 a week really affected? How would that really have affected how WWE does business? That's not even, that's what, maybe, that's not even 10, maybe 10 grand. I'm bad with math. Anyway, the point is, you, instead of just helping these guys out, you just said, fuck it, we're done. More's come out. Dave Meltzer reported, there are many fans who acted as if the paying rehab was a goodwill gesture. No, it's not a goodwill gesture that they paid Ridge Holland's rehab. It's, hey, you got hurt in our business. It's called workman's comp. So yeah, they had to pay for his injury time, pay for his rehab, pay for his medical bills. It says, however, Ridge Holland was injured while working in a TNA booking that was part of his WWE contract. Not paying him for his rehab would have been a bigger situation in a lawsuit. Beyond that, there's reports that emerged that Ridge Holland was working for NXT money, which means in November of 2024, they offered him a 1-year extension for about $200,000 less than he had before. Ridge Holland took that in a goodwill gesture to go down to go down to NXT and rebuild himself so that he could come back and be on the WWE roster as a bigger name. The day he got hurt, and this is a big deal because of this NXT TNA deal, WWE talent are not getting paid extra to work on TNA shows. Let me say that again. Ridge Holland was not paid any extra to work the TNA show, which he was injured on. This was part of his WWE NXT contract. Now, I understand, hey, you've got, those injuries like that. You can't pay people to do other work. I mean, NXT talent can't take independent bookings. TNA's not an independent booking. They have a working contract, so you're not going to pay them extra. But should you? I think when you sign that contract, you're signing a contract to work for WWE. You are not signing that contract to work for TNA. I think TNA should be fronting part of the bill to pay for that. And they probably are. They're probably paying... TNA is probably paying WWE, and WWE is keeping that money instead of paying the talent. Because let's face it, they're not putting the title on Trick Williams for free. WWE is not in the business of making friends. They're in the business of making money, like CM Punk said. So, it's sad to see that what was left of a family business, as it wasn't a family business, but that's how Vince treated it, as if he was the father of the family and he took care of the family. Now, that's not there anymore, and you've got talent getting hurt, released while they're hurt, which means they can't get paid then. You got talent who's been fired who can't go work somewhere else for a year. How are these people supposed to make money? And I get it. Maybe WWE don't give a fuck. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. And they sure as the fuck don't care about their talent. So it's hard. It's a shame. That's just all I'm going to say. I believe that Andrade should be able to go wherever the fuck he wants to work, especially he's already showed up on it. He thought he could go work anywhere he wanted. Ridge Holland should have been paid throughout his injury because he got hurt doing their work. And instead it's like, fuck it, your contract's up, we don't want to deal with it. Especially considering he did them a favor by working for less. He took the NXT deal to go take a fucking pay cut to show, hey, I can do this. They send him somewhere else. He gets hurt. And then they're like, see you later. You've been future endeavored. This company is getting worse and worse each week. Hell, they're talking right now. You had Nick Khan on television be like, oh yeah, the Saudi deal, it makes 100% sense. It's what we had in the plans and our fans will come. They're so fucking delusional. It's just insane to me how delusional they are. While we are on the topic of WWE, let's talk a little Seth freaking Rollins. This past weekend, Seth Rollins defeated Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel in the main event to become the Crown Jewel champion and have that belt that's the size of him and a fucking Super Bowl ring and all this shit. There's only one problem. Seth got hurt. Seth was doing a coast to coast, not your traditional kick, but it looked like a fucking headbutt the way he did it. Cody was hanging upside down in the ropes. Seth did what appeared to be like a spear from one side of the ring to the other side of the ring, and he landed on his arm bad. And during the match, they said something immediately, how, his arm's bad, messed up. They're saying it could be a rotator cuff. It could be a broken arm. I don't think it would be a broken arm because he finished the match. he's been seen out, but every time he's been seen out, he has been in a sling. There's fan photos of him in a sling, and my first thought was, they're trying to work us again. They're trying to work us again. He's going to come out and throw off that sling or shit. That was my first thought. But on Monday Night Raw this week, you opened the show with Seth Rollins being like, I don't need you. I don't need you. I picked you. I picked I picked Braun. I picked the wise man. I picked the tribal thief, but I don't need any of y'all. And at the end of the fucking night, at the end of the show, you had Braun Breaker spearing Seth Rollins, which ended the Vision. The Vision has been up and down these last couple weeks, but this was way fucking fast to be breaking up this group. Now, there's only one thing, and it's an injury, and it's a bad one. Like I said, Monday Night Raw this week went off the air with Braun Breaker holding that title above his head. Seth Rollins' title. And like I said, I saw this ending at Mania. I thought you were going to have Seth lose the title to Roman or some shit, and Braun Breaker was the reason of it, but instead you have Braun Breaker spearing him, ending the show, like I said, breaking up the group. He got in Bronson Reed's face, and he's like, you're either with me or you're against me. And then the wise man, Paul Heyman, is holding up both arms at the end of the show, standing over the top of Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins could be vacating that title. There is rumors that the injury is bad enough that they will vacate the title, which would go ahead and set up Braun Breaker to become the champion. He can carry that into Mania, and they can have the Braun Breaker versus Brock Lesnar match that they've been wanting. And instead of doing it at a smaller show, they can do it at WrestleMania, which would also set up possibly Brock Lesnar winning the Royal Rumble. I don't know how I feel about that. I really would like. I'd like to see Punk win the Rumble and go up against Cody. That makes a little bit more sense, but either way, this injury looks legit. And if you watch the show, I watched it after the fact when I already knew he was hurt. Seth Rollins, the way he was holding that title and the outfit he had, could have had a sling on that whole fucking time. Even during the spear. So, I think this injury is legit this time. They've cried wolf so many times that I thought, oh, well, Seth Rollins isn't hurt. He's not, I think this time it's legit, and it's crazy. I thought he was hurt with the leg. I didn't think he was hurt as bad as he was, but I didn't see them pulling an audible during the LA Knight match, even though that could have even been fucking fake at this point. I don't know. But I don't see them breaking up the Vision this early. Because they didn't really finish the story, no pun intended. I think that it would have made more sense to do more dissension in the group. I feel if Seth's not hurt and he's not giving up the title, that it kind of doesn't make sense, because where are you going to do this match at? Fucking War Games? No. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't. The breakup happened so soon that there has to be an injury. It has to be legit. And it's Braun Breaker never had a reason to be a part of this group. Like, from the beginning, I was like, this doesn't make sense. He's on the ascension to the title. Yes, he is the future, but he doesn't need Seth Rollins. And then Bronson Reed come back, and he sure as the fuck didn't need Seth Rollins, but it made a cool group. Then you added Becky Lynch into the group, and things just kind of went from there, and it wasn't as exciting anymore. But I don't know, man. It doesn't really make sense to break him up if he's not hurt. I hope to God it's not like a serious injury, but they wouldn't be pulling that title off of him if it wasn't at least serious enough that he's going to be out for a while. Like I said, they're not going to have the title not on the line with War Games and coming up, and then you've got the Royal Rumble in January. Like, we're in Mania. We're almost in Mania season. How crazy is that? That we are almost in Mania season already. Just, it feels like Mania just happened, and we're already almost back in it. We're over halfway there. You got one more major pay-per-view in Survivor Series, War Games, and then the end of the year with all the smaller shows. What's crazy is we're almost done with John Cena. He's like got 2 more matches left, 4 appearances. Speaking of big shows, AEW has WrestleDream this weekend. Now, WrestleDream to me was like a B show that they've tried making a big deal over the last couple of years, but last year they made it a huge deal with Bryan Danielson's final match. And this year they've built a card pretty good. There's going to be a lot of big matches. The build-up hasn't been as great for most of them, but what I believe is the main event has been the biggest build-up, and I'm going to get there in a second. But I do want to start. I'm going to give you my predictions. I don't have the betting odds this time, and last time I don't really think anybody actually cared, so I'm not going to use betting odds. I'm just going to kind of break down the show, give you my thoughts. They are starting this show again with the Tailgate Brawl. It kicks off at 7 p.m. on TNT. This is the first nighttime pay-per-view in like 3 months. So I'm curious to see how the viewership is for this pay-per-view. I would assume it's going to be higher. You don't have anything big going up against it, I don't think. The only thing that could be going up against it's NXT. And I don't watch NXT enough to know. So I'm just going to say WrestleDream's probably going on only up against college football, which is a big deal. Anytime college football and the NFL is going on, you don't want to be direct competition to it. That's one of the reasons that AEW run their shows on Saturdays for the pay-per-views instead of Sundays like traditional is, because they don't want to go up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So like I said, this will kick off with the Tailgate Brawl, which is Collision at 7 p.m. Now, if you're wondering, why are they doing the Tailgate Brawl? TNT and TBS has a deal with them for 2 hours of television, 2-hour block of Collision, 2-hour block of Dynamite. Now, recently, they have just, the last couple weeks, or the last couple pay-per-views, they did a 3-hour block on Wednesday. That's what they did this week as their go home. They did the 2-hour Dynamite, and the last hour they rebranded it as Collision. Then you have your last hour of Collision 1 hour before as a kickoff show. I think this is a good idea. I really think opening on free television gets people that might not have bought the pay-per-view to maybe go buy the pay-per-view, because that's what, I can remember back in the day, the UFC did this forever. Sometimes the UFC prelims had a bigger audience than the actual UFC pay-per-view. Sometimes you had a bigger WCW audience watching on television leading in on Saturday nights for the pay-per-view. I don't know how the numbers work anymore, especially with this new Nielsen ratings. That's so fucking confusing. I know they're using the Nielsen box, but they're also using live stream viewing through digital devices. Ratings don't make any fucking sense to me. So I can't break down to know whether there's more people watching. But like I said, I do know when the UFC did this shit, they would have a huge main event prelim, and you wanted to be in that spot because you were going to get more eyes on you than the pay-per-view itself did. So let's break down this card. 12 matches. Not 4 or 5 like WWE. 12. You have 4 matches in the 1 hour block. So on the Tailgate Brawl, they're going to be one after another, and it starts at 7 p.m. on TNT and HBO Max. You're going to have Eddie Kingston and Hook in an open challenge. Now, obviously, whoever does accept this, you got Eddie Kingston and Hook taking the win. I'm not sure who would come out to that kind of open challenge. Sometimes they like to use these for new talent. I don't know who's available that could be the new talent for this. And it it makes more sense to do this on YouTube, on TNT, than it does on YouTube, because it will go on HBO Max. So I don't know who's going to take that open challenge, but then it makes the most sense that, they're going to take it. The Tailgate Brawl, which has become the main event of these shows, is going to be the Conglomeration versus the Death Riders. I see the Death Riders taking this because I don't see Jon Moxley winning at the end. So you give the Death Riders a win at the beginning of the show. They're going to do all kinds of dirty shit. I believe this is a 4-on-4, 8-man all-star tag, whatever the fuck that means. So I'm going Death Riders in that match. One that's been setting up for the last couple weeks. FTR versus Jet Speed. I am not a huge Jet Speed fan. I like them separately, but I'm not, honestly, I think what it is I'm just not I know people love Speedball Mike Bailey. I'm not a huge Speedball fan. So that kind of throws me off. Plus, I am the biggest FTR fan. Now, like I said, you've been building to this. I think it was 2 weeks ago on Dynamite. You had FTR with Megan Bayne versus Jet Speed and Willow Nightingale. That match will kind of lead into the next match we're going to talk about. And you had FTR come out with Megan Bayne on Dynamite this week to set up both of these matches. I think the Megan Bayne part of this is interesting. I think she's a good addition to the FTR group. Now, you got Penelope Ford, and this is a great reason to help develop the women's tag team division by having what I believe is the biggest and best men's tag team working with one of the strongest women's tag teams to have like a super tag team group. And then they're managed by Stokely Hathaway, who's like one of the best, honestly, one of the best on the mic right now, even though he gets no hose. But I'm torn, man, because they're wanting to push Jet Speed. FTR has done the job, and I want to say FTR and Megan Bayne won last week. And if that means anything, that means Jet Speed should get this win back so that they do the trilogy. And then FTR might win that one. I don't know. I know we are leading to Blood and Guts. I'm assuming it's only going to be a female Blood and Guts this year, but there could be a men's Blood and Guts too. And if there is, I could see FTR and Jet Speed in that. I hope there's not. I think it's just the women. But as of right now, I wouldn't be shocked to see both. But like I said, the next match the final match on this WrestleDream Tailgate Brawl is Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford versus Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. I think all 4 of these women will be involved in Blood and Guts next month in, I think it's in Spartanburg, not Spartanburg. It's in North Carolina. It's where Sting's last match was. But Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford have been on a tear. You've got your fan favorites in Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. I think they're setting up for Willow and Harley to, if not win the women's tag team titles, be a finalist for the women's tag team titles. Originally, I thought it would be Statlander and Willow Nightingale. And then at one point I thought it was going to be Harley Cameron and Statlander, or Harley Cameron and Mercedes Moné. But now I believe it's going to be Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale in the finals as a tag team, because you've got Statlander as the AEW champion. You still got the belt on Mercedes, especially now that she's doing the Ultimo Dragon gimmick where she's got 10 belts. I don't see them breaking that up just yet. Now, it might come soon, because on Saturday, she will have broken the record set for holding the TBS title. She will be the longest reigning TBS title champion, and I don't see that coming to an end just yet, because there's not a story for her to go to the title. And if she's not going for the tag straps, then it doesn't really make sense just yet to pull that off of her. But to recap, I've got Eddie Kingston and Hook winning their open challenge, the Death Riders winning the tailgate brawl. I'm going Jet Speed over FTR, and I'm going Harley Cameron, Willow Nightingale over Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. Like I said, that's 4 matches in a 1-hour show with probably 6 commercial breaks. These matches are going to be like 5-10 minutes. Probably your first match will start with them in the ring with no introductions. Probably no introductions for any of these, especially that fucking conglomeration versus Death Riders. There ain't no way they're going to follow Death Riders from the damn street in, unless they're planning on cutting time from probably the women's match, knowing them, because God forbid if there's a women's match, it's got to be the shortest on the show, and can only be one. The pay-per-view will start at 8 p.m. on Saturday. You can get it on HBO Max, Amazon, all kinds of fucking places. Just look, it's everywhere. I am going to start at the bottom and work my way up interest-wise. The first match I want to talk about is The Demand versus Hurt Syndicate. We hurt people. We hurt people. And I don't understand the reason for this match. They had the same match at the pay-per-view last time. And honestly, I think it's because the Hurt Syndicate likes working with the Gates of Agony so damn much. And this past week, you had the Gates of Agony pinning the Hurt Syndicate, but then you had MVP crack. What is his name? Can't think. I'm drawing a blank. He's part of the Demand. Anyways, he cracked him right over the head with that fucking cane. And then now we got a tornado tag. The reason there's a tornado tag is this protects MVP. MVP does not look as good as he did because he's not as young as he was before. But in a tornado tag situation, he's gonna look strong. I see the Demand taking this one and this being the final match between the Demand and the Hurt Syndicate. I think they're going to lose, and that's going to be the way that the Hurt Syndicate adds a new member to the group. Up next, I'm going Jamie Hayter versus Tekla. The two that is starting Blood and Guts. I think this is the match where they finally say, I think Tekla and the whatever Sisters of Pain or whatever the hell they're calling Sky Blue and Julia Hart, I think the three of them are going to end up, with the help of Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne, I think those 5 women are going to be the women's heel team for Blood and Guts. Jamie Hayter, on the other hand, I think it's going to be Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata, Willow Nightingale. I think you're going to have Harley Cameron, and I don't know who the 5th will be. But in that match, I'm going Jamie Hayter over Tekla. Tekla's on a fucking reign right now, though, and Jamie Hayter's looked good ever since returning. Both of them were part of the women's 4-way last pay-per-view. But I'm going Hayter over Tekla. That one I'm not sure about, and the last one I'm not sure about. But that's where I'm going. Hayter over Tekla. Then you've got Brodito, the AEW Tag Team Champions, taking on Takeshita and Okada. Takeshita just won the IWGP Heavyweight title. And you got Okada, who is the Continental Champion, or whatever they're calling it now. The Unified Champion, I think, is what the title is actually called now. So you got all four men walking into this match with a strap. This match was set up last week as the winner of, if Brody King or Bandito pinned Okada or Takeshita, that person got a match against Okada for the unified title. But if Takeshita or Okada pinned Brodito, they got a tag championship opportunity, and that's what this is. They tagged Okada pinned Bandito, and that's how we got here. And I think this is going to be Brodito holding on to the titles. I don't think it's time to break that group up just yet. And the fact that Takeshita and Okada can't work together. This past weekend on Dynamite, you had Takeshita sending in a video for Don Callis' birthday, and Okada's like, oops, I accidentally turned it off. They don't work together well. They don't like each other. I think they're setting up for title versus title. Takeshita versus Okada at the Tokyo Dome in January. That's where I think this is going. I don't think it's going to end in AEW, nor should it. Because why not let Okada go one more time? Plus, Takeshita has that dual New Japan and New Japan AEW contract. Let's give them a little bit of love. Let's let him wrestle a little bit more in Japan while wrestling in the States. That's what I want. And because of that, I'm going Brodito over Takeshita and Okada. Up next, you got the Young Bucks versus the Jurassic Express in a $500,000 match. Traditionally, I hate money matches. But it makes sense here because the Young Bucks are broke as fuck ever since losing their EVP status. And Jurassic Express is just going. Jungle Jack Perry is so upset with how the Young Bucks treated him that he went into his past to bring Luchasaurus back because the Young Bucks weren't there for him when he needed them. You know, he was going through hard times and they left him behind. And because of that, he wants to take out the Young Bucks. And I see Jurassic Express beating the Young Bucks. I think they've beat them before, but this new version of Jack Perry, I like. I'm not a huge fan of Jack Perry as a person. I think he made a great heel, but I think he makes an even better babyface when he's with Luchasaurus. I think his promo skills have gotten so damn good. I think it's crazy that he's always got one of his knives that he makes. I wouldn't be shocked if he fucking stabbed somebody at some point with one, especially at AEW where they love that little shank action. But yeah, Jurassic Express over the Young Bucks. Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher for the TNT title for the fifth time. Kyle Fletcher, not even going into that. Mark Briscoe is my favorite right now, but that's not going to happen. You got the Don Callis family. Kyle Fletcher's taking home that title. Chris Statlander versus Tony Storm. Timeless Tony Storm. And Statlander has been one of the best stories that they have built going into this pay-per-view. The fact that Tony respects Chris so much and Chris respects Tony so much. They want to see who the better woman is. And they have Renee Paquette is just over it. Like, they start throwing off clothes and Renee takes her jacket off and throws it down and was like, I'm done with this. Great promo. Then they just go beat the shit out of each other in the ring. I thought it was fun. I think it's setting up a great way for Chris Statlander to be the woman. Chris Statlander over Tony Storm. Up next, we got Adam Hangman Page versus Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe has never... Hangman's never beat Samoa Joe. This is going to be the time Hangman does. But this is a great match because Samoa Joe will put on a fucking clinic with him. But the match that I'm most excited for is the I Quit match. You got Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley. If this doesn't close the show, I don't know what can follow it. You got two guys who will not say I quit in a match where one of them has to say I quit. But I don't know where you go from here. Jon Moxley has used glass. He's used beds of nails. He has used barbed wire. Darby Allin catches motherfuckers on fire. He caught Jon Moxley on fire. He tried a Monatel cocktail in Jacksonville before he got tackled. I don't know who quits, but it better be Jon Moxley. I saw one thing that's like, oh, well, the only way to end this is murder. And I thought it was cool, speaking of murder, that they did the promo going into this at a jail. I've heard some theories think that the police might get involved and that's what stops it. And no one really quits. I don't know. I think you're going to see Jon Moxley. I wouldn't be shocked if you saw Darby Allin trying to attack Renee Paquette. And that's where Jon Moxley says, I quit. What if he tried catching Renee on fire? And Moxley's like, no, I quit. Because I don't see Moxley quitting for any of his members. I see him throwing them under the bus. I just, you know, where it's an I quit match, it's no rules, anything goes. So they're going to take this thing. There's going to be blood. I mean, hell, you've had Darby with his damn guts hanging out before. So I want Darby Allin to win this match. And I would love, how crazy would it be if he actually did what he said he was going to do and he choked out Moxley and Moxley said, I quit, with the AEW flag around his neck that he took up to Mount Everest. That would be so fucking sweet. I don't see it happening that way. I do see that I see that moment happening, but I don't see that being where he quits. I think fire has to be involved for Jon Moxley to quit. But I don't even think setting Jon Moxley on fire is going to make Jon Moxley quit. Maybe this is where we see Gabe Kidd come back. I mean, Darby drug his ass off in Philadelphia and we never saw him again. I don't know. Murder is what's going to have to stop this. Somebody's going to die, and that's how they quit. Maybe Darby Allin's going to go and get Jack Perry's knife and slit Jon Moxley's throat and then go to jail, and that's how it ends. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to end, but I just want it to end with Darby Allin getting his hand raised. So to recap, I've got Darby Allin over Moxley, Hangman over Samoa Joe, Chris Statlander over Tony Storm, Kyle Fletcher over Mark Briscoe, Jurassic Express over the Young Bucks, Brodito over Takeshita and Okada, Hayter over Tekla, and the Demand over Hurt Syndicate. All right. We talked a lot of the pay-per-view. I do want to talk about two more things, and we will get you guys out here. Nobody's really been involved in the chat today, but I do want to remind everybody that you do have the option of joining in the chat and saying hello, getting involved in the show by just leaving a comment. You can do that during the show or after the show. I will reply to all comments after the show as well. But if you're watching this, you made it this far, please like our page. Just hit that thumb on this video. Helps us get more eyes on the prize. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Just wanted to remind you guys of that before we get into our final two topics. Up next, we got the AEW training facility. There's been rumors that come out that AEW is going to open a training facility in Asheville, North Carolina, which is the home of FTR and the Copelands. And ironically, FTR and the Copelands, Beth and Adam, were going to be the trainers. Now, originally, they found the spot, all that happened. I think the flood happening, that's part of what backed off of all this. But originally it was said that it was just too expensive to do it and to have a training facility. Now, AEW does have a facility that has a ring in it, but there's no training there. It's just people go there to get some bumps in. This must have really been in the works, because Steve Borden Jr., Sting's son, saw in Asheville with FTR and Adam Copeland training. So they would have been great people to do it. And Tony Khan was asked about it on the media call for this weekend's WrestleDream. He said, "Yeah, I'm interested in it. It's something I talked about. I was kind of surprised to see the report, because I'm still interested in that. And I would say it's one of those things where you're reading something and there's a lot of truth to it, but then when you're around the situation sometimes and you see it reported, sometimes you'll say, well, okay, that's only part of the story, not the whole story. Obviously, it's a different relationship with FTR and Copeland than it was earlier in the year, aka he's bringing in kayfabe. He said, if FTR and Adam Copeland can rebuild their relationship, that's something I'm very interested in having that facility. I do think that something like that there's interest in. And I do think in the long term, the big picture, because we're all going to be doing this for the long term, really believing that Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, Dax Hardwood, Cash Wheeler, FTR, and Copeland Christian are all guys that I would want in AEW for a long time. And I would hope Adam Copeland and FTR can rebuild their relationship, because that is where I'm interested in. And I think it would make it absolutely fantastic mentors and fantastic people. I would love for those guys to reunite and be able to rekindle their project. I really like the idea of having FTR and Copeland in an AEW affiliated training school and working with them in the project in their hometown of Asheville, North Carolina. Whew, that was a mouthful. And Tony probably said 100 other things in between there that got cut from that comment. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, there was rumor that there would be a school there. I really think that the flood had something to do with it. I think because there was so much damage to Asheville that they just put it on hold. And honestly, Asheville is a very weird place to put a wrestling school. Not a lot of in and out traffic that you can. It's not central located. It's not like Florida where NXT's makes sense because all wrestlers live in Florida. So you put it in Orlando, you put it in Las Vegas, like the UFC does. It makes sense for there to be a training facility there. Not so much Asheville, North Carolina, but it is centralized because that's where the coaches are and they ain't fucking moving. So if you want Cope and Christian and FTR to be your coaches, if you want Beth to be involved, then that's where it's going to have to go. I do see there being a AEW training facility in the future. I think it's needed. I think Texas would have been a great spot. You could have used Dustin Rhodes' school. I don't think you need a performance center. You know, that is a good idea. It worked. It works for the WWE. Hell, it worked. The power plant worked for WCW. But I also think it is good to have a variety of coaches in a variety of schools. And that's one of the things I do like about the WWE ID program is that you have several different training facilities. Originally, you know, a lot of people have gone down and trained at the Nightmare Factory. And that is what kept AEW alive in 2020 was the Nightmare Factory. You had so many students from QT Marshall and Cody Rhodes' school that they even shot a month's worth of television there during COVID. So I wouldn't be shocked to see multiple schools. Like I think it'd be cool if you did have Cope and FTR open a school in Asheville. Then you put one in Texas with Dustin Rhodes. You put one in Atlanta. The problem with Atlanta is you've got at the Nightmare Factory, you have Cody and you have QT, and it's a WWE affiliated school, but it kind of also an AEW school. I think that would be a great spot. I don't know if that's a direction they would be willing to go now because Cody's not part of the company. But in a perfect world, you would have, AEW, you would have a program that was affiliated with AEW in Atlanta, and then you do one out West Coast. I don't know where. I don't see the Bucks training people, but if they wanted to, they could do it one in California. Somebody's got to be out west that's got a good school that they could, work with that's already a part of AEW. Hell, Christopher Daniels could open a school. There you go. Christopher Daniels opens a school, and you've got a West Coast. You got one down south. Asheville, even though that one don't make any fucking sense, but the trainers make sense. Either way, I do think that an AEW training program is going to be something that happens, especially with as many people get hurt. It gives them that would give them options of where to go train and people to train with that can help get them back where they need to be. Especially, Cope and Christian, if they were working with them, they know how to come back from big injuries and they could help other talent do that. So I do think a training facility would be important. Last up, we got one more thing to talk about, and it is boxing. That's right. We've never talked about boxing here on Random Shit, Random Guy. We are today, and it's got a little twist. I guess we have talked about boxing because we talked about the UFC boxing. Anyway, we're going to be talking about Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman happening for a third time in MVP boxing on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Tank Davis on November 14th on Netflix. I am a huge Anderson Silva fan, and I know what year is it? Is it 2025 or is it 2010? I don't give a fuck. I love Anderson Silva. His walkout music gets me pumped. I don't know how many times I've been having a bad day and I've got to record that I'll throw on Anderson Silva's walkout music and it'll pump me up right before the fucking show, and I put on a great show and I have a good time. This will be the third time. Now, Chris Weidman does have a 2-0 over Anderson Silva, and I don't know if Chris Weidman has a actual boxing match under his belt yet. Anderson Silva does. He's had a couple. Anderson Silva always wanted to box Roy Jones Jr. back in the day, and I would have loved to have seen that in their prime. Now, both of these guys are over the hill, but it's going to get people to watch. It's going to get me. I was going to watch anyways because I always watch Jake Paul's fights. It's always a train wreck. You never know what you're going to see, and the undercard is usually great. But this time you got Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman on there. Now, the first time Chris Weidman knocked Anderson Silva out because he had his fucking arms behind his back, and it was considered such a fluke that they ran it back again. And then the next time, Anderson Silva's leg fell off. That's just the easiest way. That is the craziest injury. And what's even crazier is the fact that Chris Weidman later had that same fucking injury, which ended his MMA career as well. I'm excited to see this. It's two over the hill guys, but it's two guys I really liked in MMA. They're going to be boxing, so I'm down for it. Like I said, it's on a card I was already going to watch, Jake Paul versus Tank Davis on Netflix. So I would love it if Anderson Silva finally got that win back. But who knows? Anderson Silva's got to be almost 50 at this point. So he probably won't. Chris Weidman will probably take it 3-0, or it'll be one of the worst boxing matches of all time because it's two MMA guys who are over the hill punching each other when they're used to taking people down. That's all we got for this week, guys. If you stuck with us this far, I want to thank you. And I want to remind you guys one more time, please like the page, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that notification bell so you know when we're live again next time. I also want to let you guys know we're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at RSRG Podcast. We're RSRG Entertainment on Facebook. We are all over the internet. I'm always posting. I'm always trying to get involved. If you guys like wrestling figures like I've got behind me, make sure you're following the Instagram page. I post those almost daily. I post old figures I get or new pictures or stuff I just found. Sometimes it's news of stuff that's coming out. So I'm always active on Instagram. But like I said, please, please, please hit that thumbs up on this video. Hit the subscribe. Help us grow this channel. We're already doing better. Every video a little bit more each week. But I need to get those subscriptions up as well. So please hit that subscribe. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, if you stuck around this long, thank you very much. Till next time, guys, I am out. Thank you very much once again.